Shalom, shalom everybody. Welcome to a special episode on location. This is Lod, everybody. I've been telling you about how even during this Gaza war, everyone, mostly all the focus is on all of the rockets that are being shot by Hamas and Islamic Jihad all over the country. Just whatever, on my way driving here, there was 10 minutes straight of rockets being shot by Hamas in Gaza. And the other headline is Lod and the other mixed Arab-Jewish cities, where all of a sudden the Arab Muslims are rioting and creating damage and endangering Jews and lynching some Jews. And I don't know if you heard the news, but 2 days ago, there were this is one Jewish neighborhood. Behind me is the neighborhood of Ramat Eshkol. If you've seen the videos of all of the cars that are burnt on fire, well, it's right on the other side of that block. So that's one neighborhood where Jews and Arabs live together, all right? Jews and Arabs live together. Jews and Arab Muslims live together in Lod for years and years and years and years. It's a coexistence, right? And all of a sudden, 2 nights ago, where I'm standing right here, there was a mob of Arabs, and they were surrounding and endangering the Jews who live in this neighborhood over here. And we're going to hear the story from Yoel, who lives here, right? But right over there on that traffic circle with a mob of Arabs throwing stones and throwing Molotov cocktails, and it's 1 o'clock at night. I'll hear all the details from Yoel. And guys just in their pajamas came down to the streets to defend their homes and defend their families. Like he was saying before, his wife didn't want him to come down. It's dangerous. And they were here, like 10, 15 of them. And he was just explaining before in Hebrew. We'll get it hopefully in English also. He was explaining that they were standing there trying to defend their area, because there was a mob of Arabs on this side, a mob of Arabs on the other side throwing stones at them. Again, this is 12 o'clock at night, 1 o'clock in the morning. And 10, 15 of him and his neighbors standing here, and 3 of them had guns, and like a group of 50, 60 guys of Arab Muslims started charging them, throwing rocks and throwing Molotov cocktails at them. Like their lives were in danger. So because of that, they shot in the 2 or 3 guys, Jews, had guns, shot in the air to like stop them from running. They continued running at them, so their lives were in danger. So they shot to injure, and 1 guy was injured, 1 Arab Muslim was injured. And these are all locals. These are local Arab Muslims who are Lod residents, I imagine, or from the area, and 1 was killed. So this is now the reality of what's going on. Folks, as you know, social media censorship is growing. The best way to support our video work for Israel is to subscribe to our video newsletter on pulseofisrael.com and to share our videos. If you are already a subscriber, then thank you. 2 additional ways to connect with and support Israel. They are so simple. 1, click on this link to help us strengthen Israel by strengthening Judea and Samaria. It's simple, everybody. Just click on the website and choose the best option that works for you to strengthen Judea and Samaria. And number 2, enjoy the beauty of Israel whenever you want. No matter where you are in the world, you can enjoy our online virtual tours of Israel. Just visit israelisbeautiful.com and choose the virtual video and activity package that works for you. It's in this neighborhood. This is the neighborhood of Lod, right here. I forgot exactly the name of it, but it's right across the street. Right across the street from Ramat Eshkol, which is one of the major neighborhoods that have made it into the news, again, where Jews and Arabs live together. And until 2 days ago, life was fine. I have friends who moved into this community in Lod years ago when they started investing in projects for more Jews to move in to help with the coexistence and strengthen the Jewish presence of this city and develop the coexistence of Jews and Arabs here. What's going on? Oh, is it a whole busload? Looks like it's a whole busload of journalists that he's going to be talking to, that I'm joining with. So you're going to be joining with me in hearing Yoel, one of the residents, talk to these foreign journalists about the situation here. So we're going into one of the buildings. Okay. Okay? So that's 2 nights of rioting, 2 nights of mass rioting, of mass destruction. And again, this is just one location where it happened. The city of Lod, it also happened in Ramla. Destruction and rioting up north, down south. Praying for the entire Israel. Thank you. All right, folks, we're about to go get a first-hand explanation from one of the residents here in Lod. So stick with me. All right. Here we go. We're in. What? לא ידעתי ש...
היא עכשיו הבנתי שיש להם איזה הרצאה, כולכם יכול להסביר לך באנגלית בחוץ.
אוקיי, מעולה. כן, מעולה. יופי. Great. I'm gonna get a private time with Yoel. So he's gonna walk me around and talk to me and explain everything in English. So stick with me, folks. All right. Again, here you get to see an apartment of a Jewish family, normative Jewish family that lives in Lod. And I have friends who live here. I actually reached out. I was given the phone number of somebody else who's an English speaker. All of them. Some of them want to live in peace. But it's not about the numbers. All you need is a violent minority in numbers. I mean, you have 60 rock throwers and Molotov cocktail throwers outside, endangering the lives of all the Jewish residents of the community. So who do you know? Who's which neighbor? And there were some communities where Arab neighbors themselves then attacked their Jewish neighbors, and the Jewish neighbors were locked in their apartments. I don't know if Yoel will be able to give us details about that or not. מה הפרנסה שלך?
מה הסיפור שלי?
כן. כאילו עכשיו אתה כאילו מתמקד בכל זה, אבל אתה לא עובד.
אני לא עובד. אני לא מסוגל לעבוד.
אתה מה?
אני לא מסוגל לעבוד.
אתה לא מסוגל, אני מבין. Right, no, I'm just...
כל השכונה.
כל השכונה. Right, so Yoel's just explaining this. So, Yoel's just taking a few minutes to check his Facebook page. But I was just asking him what does he do for a living? Because all of a sudden he's spending his whole day dealing with journalists and explaining the situation of what's going on here. This is major. This is major for the state of Israel. This is major on a historic level of what's happening. I said, what's your job? He goes, I can't work right now. He goes, no one in the community can work right now. They're afraid for their lives. At night, they're afraid for their lives. The Arab Muslim residents are creating havoc. And I have one family, this friend that I spoke to, he told me he and his family, they left. His wife is expected to give birth any day. And they went to her parents' house. They had to leave the community. I mean, at night it is scary. They can't leave their apartments. I mean, again, I'm waiting to hear all the details from Yoel so you can hear from Yoel. But, you know, the whole...
This looks like
Oh.
This whole crazy situation that we're dealing with when we have citizens battling each other.
So they're talking to journalists over there.
After this whole operation ends, I thought it was going to be interesting to bring someone who will be able to speak about this after.
So Yoel was telling me that he and all of his neighbors, they're not working. They can't work. They're just psychologically not able to work. They're not in the place to work right now because their lives are threatened with them and their families. It's just nuts. And again, most of the focus with everything going on, I don't know if I should talk because they're talking over there. Salam. Just need to take something to drink. It's hot out. Not so exciting. I'm filling up a cup of water.
Disruption here in Israel.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam yeh bidvaro.
The context of this crisis. So the crisis itself is sort of a mixture of two different but associated issues. One is the conflict, the ongoing conflict
I don't want to talk in this.
between Israel and Hamas. The other one, which is only partially related, but it's unfortunately happening at the same time, is the issue of Israeli society.
I don't want to make noise. I don't want to make noise for the speaker. I don't know if they wanted me to listen to the speaker, not listen to the speaker, or film the speaker. Here's the deal. I want to explain to you guys something really, really important. There's two stories that help me frame my realistic understanding of coexistence in Israel. All right? Of coexistence between Jews and Muslims in Israel. Two stories. Story number one. Everyone familiar with the movie Exodus, right? An unbelievably pro-Israel, pro-Jewish movie made by Hollywood, which is the story of the immigration of Holocaust survivors to Israel and the establishment of the State of Israel, right? It's about Holocaust survivors who smuggled into Israel against the British, and then they're in Israel, and then it's about Ari Ben Canaan. What's the actor's name? I forgot, the famous actor. And basically about the fight against the Arabs for the establishment of the State of Israel. There is one scene in that movie that helped me understand at a young age, right? I love that movie. I watched Exodus plenty of times. There's one series of scenes, one storyline in that movie, and it's about Ari Ben Canaan and his best friend, who was the Muslim Arab sheikh of the neighboring village. They grew up together. Ari Ben Canaan and this Muslim Arab sheikh grew up together. Ari Ben Canaan grew up in the Muslim sheikh's house. Again, this is a movie, but this is the storyline. The Muslim sheikh grew up in Ari's house, right? The Muslim sheikh grew up in Ari's house. And in the movie, Ari was injured, and the British were after him, and so the Muslim sheikh took Ari into his house in order to get better. Now, the Arabs were planning to kill all the Jews, right? And the Arab Legion, and there was a Nazi actually involved in helping the Arab Legion, and the plan was to kill all the Jews. And the Muslim sheikh told Ari Ben Canaan, listen, you gotta leave. You gotta get everyone out of your village. And it was all kids. Get them out, evacuate, because we got the orders that we have to come kill all of you. And Ari Ben Canaan was like, what? Don't do it. We're friends. And he goes, yes, Ari, I know you're a friend, and you're my best friend in my life. You're my brother. You're not a friend, but you don't understand our culture. And then he said, Ari, goodbye. And they had to split. The next day, the Jews then went into the Arab village, because it was a war, the war was in. The Arab village was evacuated. It was gone. All the Arab Muslims left the village. This is the village of his Muslim sheikh's friend, right? He's the leader. And what do they find? They find the Muslim sheikh hanging dead, killed by his own clan, his own villagers, with a big Jewish star inked on his chest, right? Like knifed into his chest. It's his blood making the sign of the Jewish star. What's the message? The message is that the culture, you can have individual relationships between Jews and Arab Muslims. You can. But the mob culture within the Arab Muslim culture is against Jews. He was the sheikh, he was the leader, and his own tribesmen killed him because he was a friend with a Jew, right? That is story number one that allowed me to understand that in order for Jews and Arab Muslims to live peacefully together, well, the Jews have to be strong, we have to have everything in order, the Arab Muslims can have security and freedom, but we have to stand up for our rights and for justice. It's only, the Middle East is a culture of power, and it's only when we stand up for our rights do we gain the respect, and they won't give problems. But once you don't stand up for yourself, once the Jews are weak and we give away our land and we don't punish them for what they do, Paul Newman, thank you, Ari, you're right. Right? When we don't stand up for our identity, we don't stand up for our land, and we're weak, then they see that we're weak, and then they come after us. That is the reality of coexistence between Arab Muslims and Jews. The only way we will have coexistence is if the Jewish state of Israel stands up for everything we believe in, for justice and for fact and history and our rights to our land. When they sense we're weak, that's when the mob mentality of the Arab Muslim culture allows them, neighbors here in Lod, right, in Ramla and Haifa and other places around Israel, to attack their Jewish neighbors and even lynch some of them. Crazy. All right, let's see if Yoel's ready yet. All right.
Merge.
Oh, I saw you. Story number 2.
Merges in a marginal manner. For others, it merges universally. We have our own, we call our more extremists, and also they have their extremists. Some of the extremists are really, very, very bad.
So Yoel said another minute, but I'll already tell you how disappointed I am with the official lecturer that, I don't know, whoever they brought to talk to the foreign journalists. Because what's he telling them? He's telling them, oh, every side has its extremists. What's going on today has nothing to do with both sides having extremists. You don't see vigilante Jews roaming the streets, wanting to lynch Arab Muslim neighbors. The Jews, if we're out there defending ourselves. But yet our officials talk about, oh, extremists on both sides. That's the weakness that our Arab Muslim neighbors and the Arab Muslim world sees. When we have our own representatives, our own politicians, our own experts, our own leaders talking about, oh, there's extremism on both sides, we lost it. We lost the argument, we lost the battle, we're losing the war. Because you're giving our own people, our own politicians and leaders are giving legitimacy to the violence of our Arab Muslim enemies, who sometimes our neighbors are turning into that. And so there's no equivalence. Are there some extremists on the Jewish side? Yeah, but there's no equivalence whatsoever. מוכן? עצבן אותי, אתה יודע מי הבן אדם הזה?
אני מניח שהוא שמאלני.
נכון, I'm just telling you all that this speaker already pissed me off, because he said each side has its extremists. כאילו, זהו. Equal. We're equally at fault according to speakers like that. Each side has its extremists. All right, so here we are with Yoel.
Who I'm speaking for?
You are speaking. I have a global audience. Okay. Many people in America.
Live Facebook?
Yes. All right. This is Yoel Frankenberg. He lives here in Lod with his family. So shalom, Yoel.
Hi.
So how long are you living in Lod?
I live in Lod 12 years.
12 years.
This is my apartment. I raised my 5 cute kids here. With my wife here. My sister lives here with her family. And I work in Lod. I love Lod. I like Lod with all the people who live here, and I have good friends here. And 2 days ago, Arab people tried to kill me.
I mean, before it happened, would you have ever thought? I mean, life was normal, right? 12 years living here, coexistence, Jewish neighborhood, Arabs, I imagine not so far away, Arab neighbors.
Exactly.
Did you ever think that what's going on today, and you'll go into the details, what was going to happen, could have ever happened?
Absolutely not. And I'll tell you more than that. We live, and probably will live, with a good partnership, I would say, with our Arab neighbors. And we didn't expect it, and we didn't believe that they believe in what they said in those past 2 days, because we thought that they see themselves as Israeli residents and as good neighbors, and we thought that we didn't think that they see themselves as Hamas people, and they raised Hamas flags and Palestinian flags, and I don't know, we're shocked.
So what did you hear? What did you hear them saying? And again, Yoel was out in the streets seeing the mobs. What were they screaming? What were they saying?
2 days ago, they screamed Allahu Akbar and threw big stones on us and Molotov bottles and fired our cars and synagogues. But yesterday they started shouting, like thousands of them shouted in blood and B'dam v'esh, in blood and fire, we will raise Palestine. We will how to say nifdeh.
We will redeem Al-Aqsa, right? Which basically means that they'll kill in order to save Jerusalem.
Throw me to the sea.
Right.
And all over we heard
Oh, we're hearing the booms.
Kvad
We're hearing the boom, the Iron Dome up on. Wow. All right.
Yeah. And that's our story.
So walk us through. Here we are. This is your building. What happened 2 nights ago?
2 nights ago at around 12:30. I heard you wanted to start there.
Yeah, let's go.
We heard that those Arabs throw stones and fired a big garbage can here in my parking lot. Yes, this is my place. 15. Show them. Okay.
Here we go. We're in a parking lot. Okay. Here, there's a parking lot for this building complex, right? A whole project.
And exactly behind us, they started throwing stones on us.
So they're down on the road.
Yes.
A mob of Arabs on the road.
And throwing stones and firing their garbage can. And we called the police. The police didn't come for 45 minutes. 45 minutes, we're calling the police, the Israeli police. You know why they didn't come? Because they dealt with other fire and
other incidents. Other violent
happening
incidents.
in Lod. So we went out of the parking lot
to
see what's happening.
Right.
And at around 1 o'clock, I was walking outside of the little, small, very quiet road we live in.
All right, guys, this is a peaceful area, beautiful,
and
nice.
Usually walking here,
Jews, war zone.
Arabs, and everyone, dogs, cats, everyone.
I mean, you even have Arab neighbors walking through this area, on this street.
This is an Arab family live there and there in every building here. There are Arabs.
Okay, so in every building there are Jews and Arabs basically living together. I heard that there were some communities where actually Jewish families were afraid of their Arab neighbors knocking on their doors, creating violence.
Because and there was a house yesterday, at least one that I know of, that Arab people. Here is my brother. Okay, Arab people that came. Went inside their house and
until they destroyed the house.
And destroyed the house. Yes. So anyway, at around 1 o'clock, we're walking here, and I see my friends over there in the end of the street, where you can see this woman and their dog.
Okay, guys, right here,
standing there.
All right. So there, towards the end of the street, he saw his friend standing there,
and they were talking to each other, doing nothing. One of them was with a flag, I think, Israel's flag, nothing very interesting. But it was 1 o'clock in the morning and we called the police. The police didn't come. I remind you for
45 minutes.
40 minutes, 45 minutes, yes. And there was a lot of noise and stuff. And I was walking here. I was like with my pajamas.
Seriously, 12:30 in the morning, right?
Yeah,
12:30 in the morning. You can't down your pajamas. Wait, and I also heard you telling the other people that you said your wife didn't want you to come down.
Of course, she told me not to go out, and she never tells me those things. But she was very terrified. I told her I couldn't stay at my house when my friends are down there, and I know what will happen.
Right.
And we really didn't know what would happen because we felt all this fire in their eyes, and well, we were just here.
Right.
Where we are standing now.
Okay, so you and your friends were standing right here at the corner. Okay.
And 30 meters down from us.
Yeah.
Like down there.
Right. The traffic circle over there.
Yeah. Yes. There were standing like 50, 60, 70 Arabs. Some of them with how do you say? With masks on their face,
masks on their face.
And throwing big stones on us and Molotov bottles towards us, and in seconds they started running towards us, and part of my friends that had their guns on them started shooting in the air, and they didn't stop.
The mob of Arabs just kept on running even though they were shooting in the air.
Yes, and they kept on running, and then probably one of them shot one of the Arabs running towards us in his body, and he fell down, and then the police came. Just then.
Right after.
And then they stopped everything. We went home, and from then we're accused on killing, and they go free.
Right. So for people who don't understand or didn't even know about this, so Yoel's talking to us about what happened 2 nights ago, and where they were defending themselves, that their lives were threatened. I mean, you told me, I heard you speaking before, and you said that when you ran out of the apartment in your PJs, and your wife said no, you took a knife with you because they were that afraid. They're trying to defend their lives, their families. They live right here, and the mob of Arabs are right out here. And the 3 guys who had guns, who shot in the air, and then some of them, I don't know who, ended up, 1 Arab was killed and 1 Arab was injured. So right now, the police, from what I understand, didn't arrest any of the Arabs.
No, and they didn't ask us what happened. And they don't have really films of what happened. They just arrested everyone that had a gun with them.
They arrested all the Jews with guns, and still now, it's 48 hours later, they're still in detention, in the police,
exactly.
Right? So they arrested the 3, I heard 3 Jews, however many, the guys
4
with
now.
guns,
4 now.
4 with guns. They're sitting in jail for 48 hours. No investigation. The police haven't asked them anything about what happened, who the Arabs are. No Arabs have been arrested, and yet, what's the message us Jews get? Well, even if you have a gun and your life is threatened, well, you can't use it. Sound familiar to everyone in America in terms of how the law works and the progressivism of the people of the oppressed versus the oppressors? Well, if you want to defend yourself, we can't, and the authorities aren't letting it. So that was 2 nights ago. So what about last night? Were things quiet here? I mean, because things were not quiet in Lod last night.
So throughout the funeral, they had so much violence. Thousands of people did violence for many hours all over the city. They told us not to go out from our apartments, wow. And they did violence and they burned synagogues, schools.
Are we in walking distance to one of those synagogues or no?
You could go there. You could drive there.
I could drive there?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. You'll give me the address.
And then yes, and it was horrible.
Right. So I don't know if you guys have seen. I've posted the videos of the burning synagogues and of the burning cars. It's just right on the other side of the street over there. My next question: when this ends, what are your feelings about your neighbors, the Arab Muslim neighbors, and the coexistence for the city?
I don't know. I don't want to ask the answers. This is the truth. I don't know. I want them to answer what they want me to think about them. They need to change how they work. I don't need to. We didn't do anything. We didn't
instigate it. Nothing.
We didn't do anything. That's the truth. You know, I want to say one thing, and then I think I need to go.
Go.
When a woman gets raped, no one asks her why she was raped. When someone wants to kill me, you should never ask me why he tried to kill me. I don't know why.
It's crazy. Yes, this is the reality.
This is a family going out of Lod now. They can't live here anymore for those days.
Right.
People go out.
Right. שלח לי את הכתובת לבית כנסת.
I'll send it.
תודה רבה. תשמרו לעצמכם, okay? So that's Yoel. מה? סתם מצלם. לא אמור להיות ברגע. תשמרו לעצמכם. Alright, here's the thing. Before, I was here. Oh, and I don't know if you guys have seen, but now there's a police car over there. Okay, so here's the deal. So here's the deal. Just a block down the road, there is a Mishmar HaGvul base. All right, the Mishmar HaGvul it's basically an army slash police station, just down the block. Their lives were in danger. It took 45 minutes for police to come. They didn't want to use their guns. They only used their guns because there was no police here, even though there was a police station down the block, and no policeman came here to help them. All down the block. It's just unfathomable. So when I'm walking to the place, he told me this is where the Arab mob was, like 50, 60 guys. Again, it's 12 o'clock at night, 1 o'clock in the morning. You could see here. You could see that there's still some of the rocks that they used to throw. They're still here, like of some of the rocks. So they were throwing rocks and Molotov cocktails. So this is the area where some of the mob was. It began when some of the mob on the other side of the street were throwing rocks at them in their parking lot. And then it's only down the block, right? If you can see the corner over there, that little intersection, that's where I was just standing talking to Yoel. So him and his friends, there were 10, 15 of them, they were standing there. And it's from where I'm standing, the 50, 60 Arab Muslims ran towards them. And even though Yoel's friends shot in the air, they continued running towards them, throwing Molotov cocktails, throwing rocks. It's just crazy. It's just crazy. So here right now, on the one hand, it's safe. On where I am, you see there's a police car right next to me. On the one hand, it's safe. On the other hand, before I was talking to Yoel, and while I was standing talking to Yoel, before I went live, a car drove up to us, stopped, rolled down his window, and said, "Listen, guys, I have to tell you, I was just driving on the other block, right where last night there was a whole block of Jewish cars that were scorched. All right, and I posted that video also, if you've seen it or not." And he goes, "I was just there next to all the scorched cars, and there was a young 13-year-old Jewish boy, and he was being pelted by the Arabs. And I grabbed the Jewish kid in my car, and I took him away from there." This is just an hour ago. All right, so the middle of the day. So on the one hand, things are safe right now. And again, at least here in front of this neighborhood, there is police. And supposedly there's supposed to be a lot of police in Lod today. But on the other hand, there is still some pockets of violence, even during the daytime. But they're expecting a lot of violence at nights. Now, here's the crazy thing. You're talking about their neighbors. Their neighbors! Right? Not every Arab Muslim was involved in this violence. Not every Arab Muslim wants to destroy Israel. You don't need all of them. You don't need a majority of them. You need enough of them. And that's enough to teach us that we have a problem, Houston. A problem when neighbors of coexistence living forever together, all of a sudden, 2 nights in a row, riot and use violence and try to lynch and throw Molotov cocktails on their neighbors. So at nighttime, they're rioting and using violence against their Jewish neighbors. In the daytime, they're working in the stores, they're working in the supermarkets, the Arab Muslim neighbors, they're working in the gas stations, they're working in the building sites. So they have regular normative jobs as Israeli citizens. All of a sudden, night falls, and all of a sudden they turn violent against their Jewish neighbors. So anyone who was with me before Yoel started speaking, I was telling you story number 1 that framed my understanding and appreciation of coexistence between Jews and Arab Muslims. Now let me tell you story number 2. Everyone who's joined, this is a neighborhood in Lod. Jews and Arabs live together. Right? In the same buildings, some Jews live, some Arabs live. Maybe there's some buildings just Jews. Maybe there's some houses just Arabs. It's a joint Jewish Arab city, Lod. All right? So story number 1 had to do with the movie of Exodus. If you missed me talking about how what is the storyline in Exodus that helped me shape my understanding of coexistence between Jews and Arab Muslims, go watch the beginning of the video. But let me go to story number 2. Story number 2 is the story of Hebron. Anybody know the story of Hebron? Jews lived in Hebron forever. Forever. There was always a Jewish presence in the ancestral holy city of Hebron, where Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and 3 out of the 4 mothers are buried. All right? Always a Jewish presence. Until 1929. In 1929, the Arab Muslims rioted across Israel, all right, murdering Jews across Israel, in Jerusalem, in Tzfat, in Haifa, right, and in Hebron. And you're talking about there was coexistence between the Arab Muslims and Jews until that point in time. And there's one story about the horrific massacre of the Jewish community in 1929 of Hebron, right? After they were massacred, then the British expelled all the Jews, saying we can't protect you. I mean, when the Arab Muslims were murdering the Jews, there's stories of the British, because the British were in charge here, the British Mandate of Palestine, that the British officer in charge of Hebron was basically just riding his horse up and down the streets, doing nothing to protect the Jews as they were being massacred in the streets by their Arab Muslim neighbors. But there's one story that says it all, right? Now, again, not all the Arab Muslims were involved in it, but you didn't need it. You had enough Arab Muslims in Hebron who massacred their Jewish neighbors that ended up killing and stopping the Jewish community of Hebron. So what's the one story? The one story is of the baker. There was a Jewish baker in Hebron, and he had an Arab employee. This was an Arab employee who he was family, right? He used to was an Arab employee who was family. They used to take care of the sons behind me. Not a good son. All right. The Jew used to take care of this Arab, right? Used to feed him. Used to have him in his home. They were close. They were close like brothers. The day of the Arab Muslim massacre of the Jewish community, this Arab employee of the bakery went into the bakery, murdered his Jewish boss, the baker, and put his severed head, he severed his head and put his severed head in the oven of the bakery. That is a story that helps me understand the reality of coexistence between Jews and Arabs. That and the first story. Yes, coexistence is possible, but only when the Jews are strong, and in a sense, the Arab Muslims understand the Jews are in charge and they will pay a price if they do anything wrong. The second we show weakness, the second the Arab Muslims think they can do anything to us, well, they'll even massacre their brother Jews and their bosses who they live in their homes. And I'm not just saying the story. I will show you and read this story out from the book from a survivor of Hebron who was there and experienced the massacre of Hebron in 1929. I have the book with his whole story. I will read it to you, so follow me for that story. All right? Now, even when the masses were at the door, bashing the door of the Arab to open up and throw the Jews out, he said, no, they're in my house, they're under my protection. So not every Arab Muslim wants to kill Jews and destroy Israel. Understand that. But we don't need all of them to do that. We don't need a majority to do that. We don't need half of them to do that. All we need is enough of them, even of a minority, that destroys the very fragile coexistence between Jews and our Arab Muslim neighbors. All right, I'm going to see if I can go see what else I can see in Lod before I leave, if I can. Otherwise, understand, folks, I am bullish. Shalom! Otherwise, I always tell you, folks, I'm bullish about the future of the Jewish people. I'm bullish about the state of Israel. I'm bullish about being able to live in peace with those Arab Muslims who want to live in peace with us. But it's only going to happen when we uproot and eradicate the leftism and the progressive values that have us understand our enemies and treat our enemies with kid gloves and not treat them and punish them when they need to be punished. Because by treating our enemies with kid gloves, just saying, oh, because they're poor, because they're oppressed, because of occupation, making these excuses for people who murder and want to destroy us and destroy our country, enables them, empowers them, and emboldens them to continue murdering us and destroying the state of Israel because they know they don't pay a price. So peace is possible, but only after we have the leadership who will stand up for rights, one law for everyone. Anyone who is involved in terror or violence is punished, whether they're not alive anymore because of what they do, or whether they don't live here anymore. Because if you're not going to live with us in peace, then leave. And if you do something against living with us in peace, then you're kicked out. That is the evil that is allowing the conflict to continue. And there's no cycle of violence, folks. There is one side that's violence, and there's no equality between extremists. You know why we have extremists? Because our army and police don't take care of the murderers, of the terrorists. If our army and police would take care of the violence from our enemies and the terrorists, then we wouldn't need Jews to be extremists and go out into the streets to protect ourselves, because the police and the army would do it. But there's no equivalence between extremists on both sides. If the army and the police and the state authorities would take care of our enemies and deal with them according to the law like they're supposed to, do you know that Israel actually has a death penalty? It just never uses it. But if we actually implement the law so that anyone who uses violence and terror is then punished and stopped, and our enemies know that they're not going to destroy us and they can't get away with killing us, then there won't be Jewish extremists. But there's no equivalence between the extremists on both sides. There's one side that wants to destroy Israel and kill Jews, and they're out in the streets doing it. And there's the other side of Jews who just want to protect fellow Jews because the authorities are not doing it. All right, folks, I'm out of here. I'm going to see if I can go somewhere else here and load before I go home. Thanks for watching, and help share the video. Take care, everyone. Shalom from the eternal and ancestral homeland of the Jewish people. This is Avi Yabler for the Pulse of Israel. Nah? Why? Oh, wow. I'm not getting off yet. אני יכול לדבר איתך? וואו, guys, וואו. ברוך השם, מה שלומך?
שלא עניתי לך היום, אני פשוט...
לא, אתה עמוס. איזה קטע. Guys, we're in for a real treat. I'm about to... Live. Yeah, we're live.
My English is not that good
Don't worry, you're
right
fine,
now,
you're
and I'm
fine.
tired.
אתה בסדר גמור, בסדר
Okay.
גמור. All right, everyone, meet Mayor Laosh?
Layosh.
Mayor Laosh. Mayor happens to be the dover, right? The spokesman?
Yeah.
For
the spokesman of a Bitronistim.
For Bitronistim, for Defenders of Israel, for an unbelievable organization. We've never met before, but we've been in touch before, and he does amazing work for an amazing organization. And he lives here in Lod as well. So, and Mayor, what can you tell us? What is going on?
What is going on here? We're standing in the place that the event that occurred here with the guy that shot the protester, the rioter.
The rioter, the Arab Muslim violent
that tried to reach the houses over here. The man of the neighborhood went down and tried to protect the neighborhood from the rocks, from the Molotov cocktails that have been
that the Arabs were throwing at them.
Yeah,
I interviewed Yoel before, so he actually walked through the whole thing.
Yeah,
and show
so they went from that homes down, and they waited 45 minutes for the police to come. 45 minutes. They called him. They asked him to come. They told him that they're in danger. They told him that they shot in the air. You know, that's
right. That's what you're supposed to do in order to warn them off.
And then when they felt the danger, they shot. They shot to prevent them from making an advancement. And then the police came and stopped and arrested them.
Arrested the Jews.
And arrested the warriors. Arrested people with families, fathers, that only protected their families. And it's a blasphemy. I mean, it's a shame. I mean, to arrest a man that protected his family.
יש לי אישור של אשתך?
כן, אישור של אשתי, כן.
זה בסדר שאני מפרסמת עם השם שלו?
כן, אני פרסמתי עם השם שלו. We just spoke to one of the officers, the high-rank officers of the police, and they told us, yes, the shooters was vigilantes. I mean,
he called the Jewish shooters who were defending their lives vigilantes.
I mean, they're making anacha. How do you say anacha?
Making assumption.
Yeah, for לא anacha. They said that the Arabs are okay in that story. I mean, they didn't arrest anyone. They didn't arrest anyone. They said that the Jews are the blame here. I mean, I'm speaking in behalf of them. We didn't do anything. We're living here.
Right,
we're not making provocation. Right. We're only living our lives in Lod. You know, Lod is not far away from the airport of
This is the center of Israel.
It's the gate, the international gate for Israel. And we're telling it all the time. I'm saying it all the time in every press interview that I'm doing. We're the gate of Israel. You can't afford yourself near your gate to have crimes, to have nationalism from the Arabs.
Anti-Israel nationalism.
Anti-Israel nationalism, and we are fighting against it. I mean, the nationalism is being. I mean, they're raising their head when there is events like Tzuk Eitan, like now in the south, in the war in the south, and it's we have your crimes, crime organizations. I mean, mobs and
right, organized crimes in the Arab community.
But they're not shooting. The organized crimes are not shooting against Jews. The one who is attacking Jews is the Arabs that anti-Semite. That I mean, there is a lot of asata. What do you say, asata?
Incitement.
Incitement. A lot of incitement against anti-mosques all over the streets. I mean, you see, I'm after 2 days and I'm not sleeping.
Right.
I'm not American natives or English
You're doing
speakers,
great. No, you're
but
doing great.
I'm trying to find
So wait,
my words.
are you? Listen, it's 5 o'clock, right?
Yeah.
Nighttime's gonna come. Are you afraid about what's gonna happen tonight?
I'm not afraid. I'm a warrior. I was in the army. As you see, I'm well armed. And
Is your wife afraid?
my
tonight?
wife afraid? My sister-in-law afraid? My kids afraid? Everyone in here is afraid, especially after they arrested the protectors
Right.
of that
After they
neighborhood.
arrested
And
the
as you-
husbands, their husbands,
as
their
you can
wives here
see-
are without their husbands
As you
because they're
can
in
see,
jail.
there's no police all over the street.
There no.
Maybe only on the junction.
On the
right.
junction, there was one.
That's it.
Well, in the news, they showed a video of like hundreds of
They are
Magavnikim walking
lying.
down a street.
They are lying. They are lying. You know, you can make a lot of photo ops of Magavnikim. I can take it from Jerusalem, from Tel Aviv, from Jaffa. Here, no police.
So wait a second. So obviously the municipality, the mayor wants to protect the citizens, right? What's going wrong? Why are the police not protecting? Why is the government not protecting? They don't know what's going on. They haven't watched the news.
They're watching the news, but they're not doing their duties. I don't have the answer. I don't want to say words like corruption or to say words like I don't know what, but they're not well. I can tell you that the police in Israel is too small for the country. It's too small. We need much more forces, much more cops, much more resources for the police to be much bigger, and they need to grow courage.
Well, let me say, I was telling them before, I don't know if you heard this, and I want to hear what you have to say. Because I was just listening to a speaker. Someone is speaking to foreign journalists at Yoel's house. And one thing I heard him say, he was explaining societal, right? The Israeli society. They're extremists on both sides. I'm like, wait a second. The second
There's
you start
no
saying...
extremists on both
right,
sides.
I said, wait a second. First of all, there are no extremists on both sides. Okay, let's just put it that way. But then, so they're calling the Jews, they're calling you and your neighbors who went out to the street to protect yourself extremists, right?
Yeah.
There would be no reason for any of you...
I'm an Arabic teacher. I'm Arabic teacher.
What do you mean you're an Arab teacher?
Arabic.
Oh, an Arabic teacher. Yeah.
Why? Because I'm teaching to know Arabic
100%.
for living with each other.
So we know how to live with that.
I'm not an extremist.
Right.
I live my life here.
Right.
And that they say we are extremists, it's not only a lie. It's some kind of a crime.
It's delegitimizing.
Yeah, it's delegitimizing, but it's not only delegitimizing. It's incitement.
Yeah, it's incitement. You're right.
Incitement.
Right. So I was explaining this, and I want to hear what you have to say. You and your neighbors wouldn't have come down to the streets, and there wouldn't be any Jewish extremists at all if we knew that the police and the army would be taking care of the terror and the crime and the murders and the violence when Arab Muslims are doing it. But when they are not being taken care of and they're let out of, the courts let them out of jail and the police don't do anything and don't protect, so it's left to regular Joe Schmoes like me and you and our neighbors to go to the streets and protect our families, who then they call extremists.
But then when we protect our families, we're getting arrested.
Right. It's a lose-lose situation.
Lose-lose situation. But as you say, you want to be arrested by 12, then carried by 6.
Right. You guys get that? You want to be arrested by 12 cops and not be carried away by 6 to then be buried. 100%.
Yeah.
No, that's also the lesson Horatticha be'esh in the army. Listen, we're both experienced in the army. The rules are horrendous. So when we're allowed to shoot, and that's also when we ourselves, when we're soldiers, and I know this, and my son's a soldier now, right? And you're like, listen, you do what you have to do. Listen to the horot, but if you feel you're in danger, you have to shoot. You shoot. Don't think about being arrested by the army police. I mean, we have to do what we have to do. And unfortunately, the legalization.
You better take a bad lawyer than a good cantor.
Better to take a bad lawyer than a good counter?
Cantor.
Good cantor.
Yeah.
Right. You want to protect yourself and not be killed and have a chazan at your funeral, a cantor at your funeral. All right, listen. Anything else you want to tell Am Yisrael? Any other important message?
Support us.
How can they support you?
You can support us by telling all the world that we are fighting here against big forces, that we have an international organization, anti-Israel organization, that are supporting these rioters. They're supporting this organization. They're supporting these Muslims that working against us. They are making us a
delegitimizing us.
Yeah, they're Kitzel. You understand that? I'm sorry, I'm tired.
I don't know.
And spread the truth. Spread the truth.
Spread the truth.
The truth is we're living here as a good citizens. We're not against.
And and I'll leave this with them because I already said goodbye. I'll leave this with them, and again, this is with your hat as a Bitchonist, the organization of defenders of Israel.
A Lod citizen.
Right? Now you're a Lod citizen. I believe God works in strange ways, right? Everyone's always talking about occupation, Gaza, West Bank, da-da-da. All of a sudden, more and more Israelis are waking up. Wait a second. Arab Muslim neighbors in Lod and Ramla and Haifa, they're now using violence against their Jewish neighbors? Wait a second. This has nothing to do with occupation. It has nothing to do with settlements. Nothing to do with Gaza. They don't want us out of here. Exactly. So God is working in strange ways, and it's a slow process because we're Amkshe Oref, right? We're a stubborn people, and it takes us a while to wake up. But with all this happening, you are part of the story of the Jewish people waking up. All right, he's being called by his family.
Yeah.
You are part of the story of the Jewish people having to be woken up by reality so that we understand, wait a second, yeah, this is our land. Yeah, they want to destroy us. Yeah, they don't want us here at all. And we have to move forward in the right direction. And only after enough people wake up will we be able to then get to the promised land and get to a true peaceful coexistence when we know who we are and why we're here, and they know we're not going anywhere.
We're not going anywhere. We're staying here.
All right, no, but you're going to your family.
Yeah. Thank you, Avi.
Good
to see you. Thank you very much.
All right, anyway, I can help, all right? Let me know.
Bye.
All right, guys, I'm out of here. That's it. Not only do we get Yoel, we got Meir, and here, you're talking about two regular people who their lives they're now endangered every night. They go to sleep with their wives and their family, and their life's in danger. They don't know what the night's going to be and what's going to be the future of coexistence in their community. Again, they have Arab Muslim neighbors in the buildings and the next building's right over. This is the reality, but like I just said, the future is bright. I always tell my mother, Ima, before it gets better, it's going to get worse, right? So this is part of the process, the wake-up process of people having to be woken up and realizing what's really going on to then be able to reach the promised land, to the better situation, better leaders, and better communal leaders. But it all starts with us. We shouldn't wait for our politicians, shouldn't wait for our rabbis, shouldn't wait for our communal organizational leaders. It's up to us to learn the truth and spread the truth. And little by little, 1% at a time, we wake people up so then we can have a better future. And if, again, I'm going to say this again, folks, if you're Jewish and you're not home yet in Israel, come home. The goal of making Aliyah is not to come here because life is perfect. The goal is because you're a Jew to come here and live in Israel to make the country better and better and better. Making Aliyah and stepping off that plane is not the end of a journey. Stepping off the plane and moving to Israel is the first step of your journey as a Jew to then be here and help us make the country a better place and the best Jewish state of Israel. That is a fabulous place for all citizens, for all who live with us, who want to live peace with us. I'm out of here, folks. Signing off, Avi Abel from the Pulse of Israel here in the community of Lod. Thanks for watching, and share.
Pulse of Israel, frontline videos from the Holy Land. Support our work by donating today.